All right, guys, here we go. All right, guys, here we go. Next part of my personal build. I finally ordered all the stuff that I need to finish this build. I know I said I wanted to finish it in the next video. I'm gonna be finishing it in the next video because there's some reconfiguration I want to do on this. I've really been sitting around and thinking about it, and I think I know what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna be changing the front panel back out to the reservoir. We'll talk about why in a second. I'm gonna show you how I'm overcoming some of the challenges of building in this system. That way when the final parts come, we'll be ready to rock and roll and end this series already. And then my 12th gen problems get to begin. Lian Li's all-new 011 Dynamic Evo builds upon its legendary design by bringing even more modularity and customization to meet your build needs. The dual-chamber design offers extremely clean cable management, while support for up to 3 360mm radiators and 10 fans offers superior cooling for the latest power-hungry components. To see the full list of features and capabilities of the new Lian Li 011 Dynamic Evo, follow the link in the description below. All right, so if you haven't seen the previous versions or videos about this Spectre 3 case, I think there's been 2 other videos. I highly recommend you go and watch those. Some things that are gonna be changing here, well, things I need to do. I wanna take these Corsair logos off. I'm not a fan of them. So if you're not aware, these particular radiators, I believe, are OEM'd by Hardware Labs. I could be wrong, but I do believe these to be Hardware Labs radiators, which are very high-end rads. But I just don't like the chrome on the side right there. Second, I'm gonna be changing this front panel back off. Third, I'm gonna probably be moving this graphics card into the rear position, which last time I was like, I don't think I'm gonna do that. Now I think I wanna do that. 4, I need to come up with a way to run these cables so that I'm not, because that's the hard part about Spectre is if you look at the back, there's nowhere to put cables because it's got the power board, so that's a power distribution board. You have a distribution block for water cooling. Well, this is a distribution block for power, which makes things nice and neat when set up properly. If you remember, these cables that came with it were too long. So I do have custom cables coming from Singularity, and I've got a black and silver kind of a theme going like I said I wanted to do. I've ordered all my fittings from Performance PCs. Those are satin titanium color, which I think is gonna look really good in this build. So I said I wanted like a silver black theme. It's exactly what I'm going with here. I will be using black tubing in this, but before I can do any of that, I've obviously got to get this all configured in a way that is going to work for me. So this is the Elite panel. This is what came on the original Spectre, like the prototype one I told you about. And it's just an additional volume. I mean, it's not really a reservoir because that's what this is right here. This is the reservoir that feeds the pump. So this is just more so for aesthetics. And it goes right there in the front. There's a couple of reasons why I want to change this out. One, my major concern, which I mentioned earlier, was, and I say earlier in a previous video, there's a lot more intake available to the fans and the rad right here by going straight through this grill. And my concern with using this is all the air has to come in through the side right here. The bottom is blocked off. As you can see, that's solid right there. Well, it's got these little perforations, but I don't think that's gonna do anything for airflow. This side right here is all solid with acrylic, and you can see the RGB strip in there. And then the top, just like the bottom, has these little bit of gaps right there. So all the air has to come through the side. I happened to find an email that was sent to me by Singularity back when they first sent this prototype, and I somehow missed it. They said they've already done airflow testing, and what they found is about a 30% reduction in airflow going from this to this. That's not that bad. And I trust Singularity because if you know Sven and you know Daniel, you know all of them over there, they really take what they do serious. And because of the fact that I'm running 60 mil rads, both in the front and the top, this radiator alone is enough for these 2 components. The 3090, this is the Strix 3090 from Asus, and the 12900K. This is actually plenty of cooling for that. By having this one here, even with reduced airflow, even passive cooling with no fans on this would add several hundred watts of cooling dissipation. So I'm not too concerned now with the airflow on this. And I do think with the RGB fans, because I'm using the SP fans, or the SL, SP, can't remember what they're called, AL. These are the AL 120 fans from Lian Li because they're a lit hub. All that color will actually shine through this because it's solid or open right here. better than this. So to get this mounted now, I've got to disassemble the front again. Fortunately, it's just that screw, that screw, that screw, and that screw. Bring the front off, and then I can mount the radiator to this guy because I have to take this off to be able to do it. There's kind of a process here. So that's why we're doing this vlog, so you guys can see how this works. So let's go ahead and start by getting the front panel off. So I had to disassemble this, right? Obviously to get this part off so I can get to the radiator mount. But this is the problem with black acrylic, especially polished black acrylic. It scratches really easily. Like just wiping dust off of it will scratch it. You can polish it back up, but I don't think I'm gonna do that because I'm gonna be wiping it down so much, it's eventually gonna get scratched, and I'm just gonna accept that that is the way that it is. All right, so what we're gonna do right now is I'm just gonna get a couple of screws in here to hold the rad in place without the reservoir part on the front. Hold this up to the case, well, at least mount it into the front with a couple of screws. That way I can get the height set just right. Then I can put the reservoir piece back on the front. Okay, so now the height is set. Now I can come in here and add some additional support screws. Then I can get the front piece back on. Then we'll be good to go. So much screwing.
Stop screwing around.
Got a computer to build. Well, this idea is looking like a bust because when you run the fans inside like this, in between the rad and the panel, and you run a 60 mil thick radiator like I am here, the ports are back there and I can't get to them. I can't even flip the ports over, like the radiator over so the ports are on the bottom, because then, because of the thickness here, it'll interfere with the pump. So I don't think I'm gonna be able to use this panel, which is super sucky. Darn. I really wanted to run this now because I feel like that would have looked really cool. But I just have no way to get, what would my flow order even be? Let's see. Pump, that's out. This would probably go to GPU. GPU probably go to CPU. CPU probably go up here, and then here has to go to the distro, or here has to go to here. That connects right here. And then that can come out and go here with a 90. Yeah, it would have to like connect to there, and then there back to there, and there. I'm not, that's no. Now we're back to where we started. What's up guys, JayzTwoCents here, and today we're gonna, no, whatever. I did use the screws that mount the black pieces to this on the front, because they're the perfect, like, what are they, M6x30, I believe, to pass through the fans and reach the rads. I just need 2 more right here, and they're gonna send me more. So this is kind of nice. The ones on the top here, I want to answer a comment, like a very common comment on the last video. I was like, why don't you just put the washer underneath, because then you won't see it. There is one underneath. I guess I could have put both under there, but this was just temporary because I am getting the screw length that I need. But then I looked at this distro block plate thing right here and I went, I wonder how long these screws are. And let's see, because these might allow me, oh, they're the same length as the ones I used up there. So I need that length minus like 4 millimeters, maybe 3 millimeters. So these are by 8, I believe they are. So I just don't want to Dremel them off. I really don't. And that would be a simple fix. I just don't want to do that. So I'll just wait until the proper size screw comes, because I don't think there's anywhere else here that I can salvage them off of there. So moving on to the next part of this, where I said I had some ideas, and that being running wiring in this one is the biggest challenge for this chassis. And I said I wasn't sure if I wanted to leave it's so wobbly too. Like I'm still gonna probably 3D print or make a mount under here that just ties this together so it doesn't wobble so much. I just don't like the wobble as much as, they did say it shouldn't wobble. Metal flexes. And when you have the pivot point here and that much leverage over, it's gonna wobble. So I wish that they would just tie this in and stop trying to make it float. I'm gonna move the graphics card closer to the motherboard. And I wasn't sure I was gonna do that before, But the reason why I'm gonna do that is I feel like this will look weird too close to the glass, or I say glass. I am planning on taking the plexi side panel that comes with this chassis to a glass shop and saying, can you make this in tempered glass? Like the beveled cuts and all that stuff. If they can, and it costs a fortune, I'm still gonna do it because glass. The acrylic side panels scratch far too easily. And I'm really, really kind of surprised that Daniel hasn't moved to tempered glass yet. But that's besides the point. I'm gonna move this back to the rear mounting position, which you can see is like right here. I'm a little concerned about how well this cable is gonna handle it because I don't want it to pop up. They are sending me a new riser cable anyway because of the fact that this is a PCIe Gen 3. This is a Gen 4 card, but this is gonna allow me right now while I take this apart to move it, to get the motherboard off for a second so that I can show you guys my idea for getting the cables all, I don't know what the right word is here, moved, hidden, whatever. Another reason why I wanted to move this, yeah, it didn't scratch it, some good anodizing on there, is the fact that I didn't want to have a lot of my tubing hide behind the card because I wouldn't have been able to have the tubing come out the front because it would be impacting the side panel. So I want to be able to see the tubing in this, I really do. And having it all hidden behind the graphics card, although I've utilized that tactic in builds before. In this one, I want to see as much of it as possible. So the sound of this pushing against all the PCI Express pins is like cringy ASMR, like in a good, bad way. So then I'll just tuck it back like that. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, that works. Okay, don't ya know, yeah. Oh yeah, too soon, Junior. Dun, 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 dun. God, if only my employees listened to me. You ever wish you had a third hand? Okay, that, in my opinion, looks a million times better. Like everything's just kind of like tight in there now. Everything's like tight, bro, it's like tight. So now that I've done that, I can take it back out. Get to the fun part, which is hiding the cables. Because as a cable management and sanitary management consultant. Okay, so it's the next day. I figured I needed to show you guys something of substance rather than all the hypotheticals while things were going wrong while working on this build. This is the standoff kit I was telling you guys about. It's from Zihihui. Whatever.
You tried.
How do you pronounce that? Someone?
I'm not gonna try.
No, I'm asking the audience, not you. You would have corrected me if you knew. Trust me, you don't miss an opportunity to correct me for something. Okay, so I've got two of them here. I ordered two because I wasn't sure. But here's the issue I came across. Again, issues in this video, who would have thought? Little standoffs and then just add a few millimeters every time. You notice a bunch are missing right there. Spoiler. Anyway, what I found is that almost every single standoff for PCs have this much more coarse thread. I'm not sure what the exact thread pitch and size is on that. I'm pretty sure it's a metric. I could be wrong. But if you look at the ones that came with it, or that came in the kit, obviously they're smaller. And I was like, dang it. And I went, wait a minute. So, as you can see, I was able to do this, which I was trying to show you. So I just left the brass ones in there, which kind of bugs me, even though I can't see them, I guess just knowing that they're brass. So I added the 3x10 plus 6. Is there another stupider measurement out there than Imperial that I'm not aware of? Because I don't know what 3x10 plus 6 is. Right. Someone's in there, someone in the chat right now is like, you are a certified moron because here's what that means. But that's fine, I don't care.
Please explain it down below.
So these are the standoffs that I used right here because I didn't want to add too much height to the motherboard because, and we can compare them side by side right here actually if you want to know the exact size difference. So like what we added. So that's the additional length that we added to it, as you can see. Only a couple of millimeters longer, so a little more than double the height. But the problem is, if I push this motherboard towards the GPU anymore, then I was gonna have a real hard time getting the riser to fit in there. Look at how it's all like swizzle sticked in there, right? I wish that we had a shorter riser cable. I don't, and that's what we have to deal with. So I had to write a quick email to Singularity and be like, hey, change of plans on the cables. Hopefully I didn't get too far in making them. Because I had given them measurements for how long we needed the cables to be when it was mounted here to reach the power board plugs. Now they don't have to go from there to there. So yeah, I think about 10 centimeters is essentially all we need But the proof of concept works really well because what you may or may not notice is I have all these cables coming from the upper rad, the RGB cables coming from the lights, as well as the cable for the CPU block, all behind the motherboard. There's the cables for the fans right there, which I still have to elongate. But it's gonna work perfectly, where I'm just hiding all the cables behind the motherboard, which really helps because there was nothing here that the motherboard had to line up with. And then Phil was saying it actually looks better, even though you can't see it, knowing that this is almost centered now between the front panel here and the back panel. It's a little bit more towards the rear, but knowing that it's centered a little bit now just kind of appeases his OCD just a little bit. So now I'm happy. And now I'm stuck with this concept now of, do I change this GPU block out for one that's like a solid acetal material? That way it matches the more blacked out theme. Or do I leave the nickel showing? Because I feel like this is a little overpowering. Sure, we have some nickel edges and stuff here on the fans, and we have all the stainless steel hardware. But what's really bugging me, if I want to know the truth, is the fact that they use brass standoffs behind the clear plexi right here. So I can see these brass pieces, which hopefully when I'm hitting this with enough light from the fans, it'll wash that out. But this is gonna light up RGB. The board's gonna light up RGB. The block, the fans, and this distro plate, remember, has an RGB plug in it. So this is gonna also be side lit. And then the Spectre will glow nicely because this is etched, so it'll refract the light back towards you, which will light up where it says Spectre 3. And I'm still thinking that when it's lighting up, this will look a lot less in your face silver because it will just reflect a lot of the, because I'm gonna stick with the Vaporwave color theme, which is kind of like the purple and the pink, sort of a cyberpunk sort of a look. I just love that. That's the way that my room is set up where I do my live streaming. And I think I'm gonna stick with that color scheme. So this just gives you another area to really see it pop out. But anyway, oh, and I forgot the power board has its own lighting as well. So there's a lot that's gonna be happening here. And my order that I needed for the fittings and fluid and various connectors and things that I needed to finish the loop on this are actually out for delivery today. So that means that I am just about ready to finish this build if I don't decide to change this block. If I decide to change the block, I think what I'll probably be more inclined to do is swap this with the card that's inside Skunkworks, which has one of those EK blocks I was talking about that's solid acetal. It's not a Strix card, it's an MSI Gaming X Trio. I mean, 3090 is a 3090, right? Thought we'd reshoot the ending of this video because trust me, the other one was just showing you all the hypotheticals of how it would look and feel and stuff without actually showing you, which would have been probably ranking pretty high among some of the worst videos, if not the worst video I've ever made in terms of information and actually showing you something that had any sort of progress. So there you go, guys. If you're using some sort of an open air chassis like this that doesn't have a specific spot that this IO has to land in, then that's a neat trick. Push the motherboard away from the backboard, the motherboard tray a little bit and start running cables behind it. Just be mindful of those really sharp, pesky solder joints that are sticking out the back because you don't want that to pinch on something and cause a short. Then you'll find out how well the OCP works inside your power supply. And nobody wants to test that, especially if you're running a gigabyte. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.